Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. And, well, today I'm just getting started on servicing a Daiwa Procaster. It's a Mag Force, made in Japan. One of the early low-profile bait casting reels compared to the early Shimano's. Metal casing rather than well, today's more modern graphite casing and lightweight castings and the like. This is a magnetic driven reel. It doesn't have that flip off side plate. It has a side plate that's bolted on. And well, I thought while I was getting started on this, we would take a moment here to show you how to service the reel. So I've already removed the handle nut and cap. And there's a little C-clip that goes to hold your bridge sleeve onto the bridge post. So we're going to remove the star adjuster next. And one of the things I encourage you to do as you're servicing your reels is to take pictures as you're removing the pieces and parts. That way you know what goes where, and well, when it's time for reassembly, if your mind isn't cooperating with you, not remembering where a piece or a part goes, you can go back to the pictures and take a look. The other thing I encourage you to do is subscribe to my channel if you like the art of servicing fishing reels, if you like to learn about them, and well, in general, just like to know about the manufacturer, how the reels are used, what types of fish you're going for with those reels, and well, popular or not popular, those kinds of things, then this is a good channel for you. This reel brings back memories. It's one of the first reels that I purchased to start learning about the low profile bait casting all the way back. I think it was the late 70s, could have been the early 80s, but it's been around for quite some time now. Nice solid metal construction. All right, I've removed the star adjuster, and underneath there is a plastic bushing going in there, but I think we can remove the side plate. I know we can remove the side plate, we just did. The spool does not have any bearings on it. When you take your pieces and parts off, you want to make sure you clean them. A lot of the service of a fishing reel has to do with just that, cleaning it and examining the pieces and parts if they happen to be broken or not. And well, in this case, these are in fine condition. We have a bearing. You test the bearing. You can do that with your finger. You can do it with a screwdriver. Just make sure it's spinning nice. Now, I did do a test on this reel before we started, so I know that the bearings are okay. I didn't hear any bearings crying out, making any kinds of noises. You're going to notice that this reel has the drive for the worm gear on the gear side, which means when you go to cast the reel, this is not going to move. And what you want to do in that situation, before you cast, you always want to center your line guide. If you do that, the line has less of a path to travel from the sides of the spool, and you'll get a further cast. All right, let's service that line guide, because I do notice there's a good amount of dirt there. I want to move the line guide all the way over to one side. I want to remove that metal cap. Then underneath the cap usually is a washer. You can see it there, it just fell right into the cap. I got lucky. And then we have the pawl. If you tap gently, you can usually bring that pawl out enough that you can use something else to pull it the rest of the way out. My something else is usually a utility knife. Just try to grab a ridge, pull down on it, and you can see how we are removing that pawl now. And I noticed that there was a lot of dirt and debris on that worm gear, so I'm going to assume that there's a lot of dirt and debris on the shoulders of this. There is. It's gummy. You can see how it's coming off on my glove here. That's one of the reasons why I use the glove, to kind of make sure that all that stuff doesn't get on my hands. All right, got that cleaned. Examine the points on this. Make sure that that is in good condition. Don't go immediately to reinstall, but rather take the opportunity. Bring the line guide to one side. I'm going to spray this with penetrating oil because I see that there is some old dirt on there. I'm going to grab a paper towel, place it over the worm gear, and turn the worm gear. That should transfer all that dirt and debris over to my paper towel. Well, I only got half of it, right? Because I was covering the other side with that line guide. So kind of like the laundry, right? Rinse and repeat. I can do that to the other side. And what you're doing here is you're cleaning the tracks so that that pole can glide effortlessly across. All right, when you got done with that, clean your cap. Get that pole, put the pole back in. You may need an assist. I usually need an assist. I use my micro pliers to do that. Folks ask me what this is. This is a crescent micro pliers. I think they come in a package with a wire clipper. They're available at Home Depot. I think they're about $14 or $15, maybe $19 for the set. All right, you can see it's riding high. It's not set yet. So put pressure onto that pole, turn your worm gear, and you will see how it pulls down. Next up then is that cap. Remember that little washer is already in the cap, so we don't have to struggle with that going on. Let's bring that over. Tighten this down. A little bit of oil onto the worm gear. Give it a turn, make sure that your line guide is moving back and forth, which it is nicely. There's a little bit of dirt on that inner line guide there. I'm just going to put a quick squirt there. Cotton swab cleans it all right up. Okay, that's this side of the wheel. I'm going to put the spool back in now. A little dab of grease just for the inner race. And clean this side, so we'll just put a little bit of grease on that. I'm going to bring that back in. Actually, before I do that, it's worth a moment here to spray down the inner case. I did notice that there's some dirt in there. Black hides dirt pretty good. It's kind of funny. The first time I was shopping for a car in colors, I was thinking, oh, well, white is probably, you know, a good option, right? Turns out black is the option to hide all the dirt. So, kind of interesting. Just as an aside. All right. Clean both sides there. Got that little film off. My guess is this reel is used in fresh water. I don't see any sign of corrosion in that. Ironically, I was using mine in salt water. I was one of the first, I guess, that was doing ultralight fishing with these inshore ocean. And I had it on a matching 6'6", I think, Daiwa rod. Everybody always wanted to know what it was that I was using. And I'll tell you what, it was a very sensitive setup. You could feel every bite instead of using those old broomsticks that we were using at the time. And I really came to like this. So what happened to that reel? I threw it overboard. Yeah, I did. We were using one of those stubby pistol grip handles on that rod. And I had been fishing and catching a lot of fish that day. And my hands were full of slime. And well, I made a beautiful cast and it slipped right out of my hand. There you go. The good news of that story was it was retrieved. Another angler on the boat thought quickly and made a cast out there with a lure and caught my pole. So there you go. All right, here's the inside of that. Take a look at the back end side. There's just a bushing in this one. I wish I could say that I could do this in my sleep because this was the first reel that I had, and I'd be lying if I said, yeah, I maintained it so much, took it apart so many times. Quite honestly, I wasn't servicing reels at the time, and no, I didn't take as good a care as I do now of those reels. All right, the yoke springs come off. We can remove this whole gear sleeve here. This is your anti-reverse dog with the finger grip. This is your yoke with the pinion gear. Looks like we have a little bushing in here. And we'll do the same thing here. Now you don't need to remove this metal assembly here, but you do need to make sure it's clean. So we'll do the same thing we were doing inside the case. I'm going to use a cotton swab to clean up the old dirt and greases. Making sure that it works nicely. And what's going to happen here is that this is going to throw that piece down, and then you're going to kick it back up with the teeth that are on the back of this. It's going to go right in that little nook there, right there. When you bring this in, right there is where these little 4 studs are going to grab and boost it back. Okay, good enough there. Here's that bushing we were talking about. Note the order of bushing. You have a tension ring, second tension washer, flat washer, main gear, a washer on the back of the main gear, click ratchet. To clean the click ratchet, just throw a little shot of penetrating oil in there, grab your cotton swab, bring that through, bring it out the other side, that'll get rid of the dirt. Check, make sure that your click ratchet's teeth and everything are in good condition. Funny, on some reels you'll actually find the click ratchet missing a tooth. I think that was particular on the Shakespeare reels. I guess in their design they needed that one tooth missing for some particular reason. Put the click ratchet back on. Go over to your yoke. People complain that, you know, there's reels out there today that are using plastic parts. This reel, again, late 70s, early 80s from my memory. Probably should have looked it up. But, well, it could very well be that plastic parts have been around a long time. Find the ramp side. These two are the ramp. Find the slotted side. The slotted side goes to the ramp side, and both of those go to the spool side of the reel. So apply some grease. And again, I encourage you to only use fishing reel grease when you are servicing your reels. Bring the pinion gear in. You're going to notice that there's a cup there for those springs, so that's all good. I'm going to take a moment here to pull out the Okay, I was just interrupted with a phone call, and I'll have to apologize if I got ahead of myself here. So we've installed the yoke and the pinion gear after greasing that, having the slot facing inward towards the spool. I cleaned up the main gear. We've applied the greases to the main gear. We've reapplied the tension washers on the stack and our plastic bushing that goes on top of that. Next up then is to take the springs and install them. And there's a little cup or a cavity on both sides that's going to hold that spring so that it doesn't kind of pop off. And at this point, with the side plate cleaned, we can go reinstall the side plate. Look for the little notch in the side plate. That's where your free spool release is going to settle. Set that in. Hear a nice tight snap like that. Check all the way around. Make sure you have a good seam. And we have those two little screws that drive me crazy. And while this can take a while, we may encourage you to go find the beverage of your choice. But I encourage you to stick around, because sometimes I get lucky. All right. Unlike the flathead screws where I have a screw starter, I don't have one for this. I may resort to that little trick that Dick has shown us with that little plastic tube, but I just was able to walk that one over, so we're 1 out of 2. And I guess I can be very lucky here and go 2 out of 2, and we won't have to worry about that, will we? All right. So we've shown you how to take the reel apart. We talked a little bit about how to cast the reel. This is a very forward-thinking reel of the time in that it had the magnetic brake. And again, it was an earlier edition of the what I'll call the modern bait casting series. We always had the bait casters around pre-World War II. I mean, all the way back into the 1920s and 30s, Shakespeare and everybody was making the round bait casters. So This is the first time we started going to a low profile. It's after the Japanese basically took over the manufacturing of most of these reels, and between Shimano, who started making the loose reels first, and Daiwa. Just trying to make sure that we're going in the right way here. Well, they kind of got some dominance in that very quickly. All right, this is not threading properly, and I always tell you if it's not threading properly, just walk it back, start over, and once it's squared up, then you can generally reach in from the top. If you can't reach from the bottom anymore, stabilize that shaft. Continue to work that star adjuster down, and that'll hold. Next up then is the handle. Just want to make sure that we get that handle clean. Well, I guess that's UV damage on the handle. We have the little washer that goes between the two. Now we have a small washer that goes underneath the C-clip. Then we have the C-clip. Now, I don't think you saw me take this off. I think I probably started by just getting ready to service this reel and said, gee, I don't think I've done a video on this one lately. Let's go ahead and do that. But I didn't want to reassemble the reel just for that purpose. You can see this little micro pliers gets a lot of use in my shop. We just attach the C-clip to the post on top of that washer. Next up then is our handle nut. Same thing, walk it in with your hand, that way you know that it's going on square. Before you tighten that down all the way, tighten your drags down, because you don't want to trap the star adjuster when you tighten this nut. Alright, that should be good. And we should have the cap. Nope, they almost had it, just a little bit backing off. So our cap screw. There's only the side plate assembly to be done. Shot of penetrating oil into both sides of the handle. But those knobs just kind of soak down with that. This is the only piece that's left. We just want to put a little bit of grease onto that. And we can bring the side plate up, look for the hole in the side that's going to accept that. Line your screw holes. Turn your reel to suck the case in, just like that. Tighten these down by hand first. Then that last little turn. Okay, the gloves are off. It's time for a test. What did we do? We took the reel apart completely. We explained the workings of the reel, how it was an early low-profile bait caster, how that changed a little bit from the traditional round ones. Explained the kind of the leading edge with the mag force, the how to service the pawl, how to clean up the worm gear, how to ensure that all of the internal workings, the gearing and the like, was cleaned, relubricated, and how to reassemble the reel. Well, let's give it a test. Oh, there it goes. It's running just as smooth as I can recall it back in the day, if you will, back in the 70s and the 80s. Nice, easy turn. Make sure that the drag washer that's in there is tight and functioning. It is. And, well, let's make sure that the free spool is operating. Remember what we said about this. When you're casting, line it up in the center before you go to free spool. That way you'll eliminate the long travel on the one side. And you'll notice that as we're turning the spool, the line guide is not being driven because it drives from this side. Make sure that we have the return. And, well, this reel is ready to go back fishing again. I hope you've enjoyed that. Before we leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, EMTs, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank you for watching, for giving me your time to learn about this reel. see how it's serviced. Again, I encourage you to subscribe, and again, if you do subscribe, please use that notification button. If you like the video, please say so, and well, let me know your ideas about future videos in the comments section. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.